Hello and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer. Today I want to talk about Bill C-11, and if you're not familiar with it, this is a proposal to require platforms like YouTube and Spotify and TikTok and so forth to show more Canadian content to Canadian viewers. And you might be thinking, hey, that sounds great. I want to see more Canadian content, and also, won't this help you, Runkle? I mean, you're a Canadian content creator. Well, what I'm here to explain is that this is bad for consumers, it's bad for Canadian content creators like myself, and it would also be bad, because I can't resist the tie-in, for Johnny Depp if this had been in place. And Johnny Depp's kind of a stand-in here for the truth generally, but we'll get to that. I'll explain where I'm going with that. So first, one of the things that's important to understand is the algorithms that go behind your user experience on a platform like YouTube. Because YouTube wants to show you content that you're going to enjoy. And they sort of study, what things you click like on, what things you click dislike on, which thumbnails you click and which ones you don't click, in order to try to basically show you stuff that you're going to want to watch. And they're not doing this for altruistic reasons. I mean, they don't actually care that much if you're happy or not. They do it because they're trying to maximize revenue. But on your end, it actually makes the experience better. On my end, I'm happy that they're doing this as well, because if they're maximizing revenue, well, then it helps me keep going. So all of this is beneficial to the consumer, it's beneficial to YouTube, it's beneficial to me. This is a good process, and this is really what they're trying to tinker with and what they're trying to require them to change. Because the government here is trying to say that YouTube should not show you stuff based on you're going to enjoy it, but also show you stuff that you're not going to enjoy just because it's flagged as Canadian content. Now, you might think, hey, isn't that great for you anyway, because you're going to get your videos out to more people? Well, no. I want my videos to be seen by lots of people, but I want them to be seen by lots of people who are going to want to engage with that, and not people who are going to dislike it, because YouTube is going to look at how my videos are doing in terms of, people clicking through, people watching it. And if suddenly they're showing my thumbnails to a whole lot of people who aren't interested in clicking, or they show my videos to people and they just go, no, thank you, and skip on, that looks like what I've made is a bad video, when instead what we've got is a bad algorithm. So that actually makes it a lot harder for me to succeed as a content creator. This is going to make things much more difficult for especially small content creators. The next point, of course, is what gets counted as Canadian content, because this is a really big deal. This proposes to push up Canadian content, which means pushing down everything that's not flagged as Canadian content. Well, in order to get designated as Canadian content, you have to go and fill out a ton of forms, which require a whole bunch of work, possibly requiring an accountant, because you have to detail all of your costs and which ones can be attributed to Canada and which ones are, elsewhere. They expect that you've got, a producer and a director and so forth, and a certain number of these roles have to be filled by Canadians. And it's not clear if that means that it's impossible to navigate for somebody who's just me, like it's just me here. I don't even have an editor. So and I'm going to get comments going, we know, Runkle, we can see your content. But what this means is that it might be very difficult for the small creator to actually navigate this process in order to get designated as Canadian content. So who does that benefit? Well, it benefits bigger companies that are going to find it much more easy to deal with this. The CBC, mainstream media in general, people who are producing sort of full-length TV episodes and that kind of thing, rather than somebody who's, trying to make videos in their office or in their backyard. So ultimately what this does is it's going to get you more corporate content and less individual content. And most of us have enough corporate messaging in our lives. We're not super keen on that. That brings us, of course, to the Johnny Depp tie-in that I promised I was going to make here, and I think I'm hopefully going to make the case here. Because what we've seen with the Johnny Depp case is the mainstream media has had one consistent narrative all the way through, which is that Amber Heard is this wronged victim, and it's such a tragedy. And of course, if you've been watching the case or watching the independent coverage of it, like I've provided, then you probably got a different view. I've seen the mainstream media predicting that Amber Heard was going to be walking out with buckets of money. Well, I predicted the opposite. And what did we see? Well, my prediction was borne out, theirs was not. In order to, if we only get this sort of one set of narratives, it can really suppress other points of view, and it can really suppress the truth. In this case, what we saw is independent content creators were getting out the correct message about what was happening here. People were properly able to explain, listen, this is not the case that the mainstream media is telling you it is. This is not a case where Amber Heard is a terrible victim. It's actually a case where Johnny Depp is the victim of some really serious and egregious abuses. Bill C-11 would have made it much more difficult for those messages to get to Canadians. And so what it would mean is that people are going to get a distorted view. This isn't the only time this is going to happen. It's an example, not a unique experience. So we're in a situation where we've got this bill that quite possibly will distort the landscape of who gets to have a voice and what information you get to see. So I think this is a terrible bill. I really want, I encourage people to, to speak up about it, to discuss it. It's currently going through Senate procedures. Write your senators. Let them know what you think of this bill, because I am very concerned as to what this will do. And I mean, I am a Canadian. I love putting out content talking about Canada and talking about the Canadian legal system. This threatens my ability to do that. And it means that that voices like mine, where I can go through and explain court decisions in some detail, might not be available. So please, this is sort of the time to act and to speak up here. And I encourage you to do so. Please also let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Share it with your friends. I think this is an important message. I think that this is one that more people need to see. And subscribe if you've enjoyed this content. I also want to thank my Patreon supporters here at the $50 level: Canada's National Firearms Association, the CCFR, and the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. At the $30 level, Sights and Arms Limited and Marc-Olivier Damour. And at the $20 level, Mick Tane, Mark, Jane Babin Luxor, Haywire, Dale Nesbitt, Cameron Johnson, Bruno R., and Andrew Elsich. I also want to thank everyone at the $10 level who will be in the crawl immediately following. Thank you for watching. I hope this has armed you with knowledge, and I also just want to note the new Bill C-21. I am going to be discussing it very soon. I just want to make sure that I've got all of my ducks in a row, that I've gone through it with a very fine-tooth comb before I start discussing the issues with that particular bit of legislation. Anyway, thank you for watching, and see you next time.